Hey, Dr. Yates here from the Yates Naturopathic Clinic, and today I'm discussing how I treat hot flashes for my clients. So when it comes to treating hot flashes, I like to use the treatment strategy or two-phase treatment strategy, starting with very basic, simple treatments and going up in complexity. And there's two important things you have to consider, which is one, the most obvious, hormone balance, and this is the balance of estrogen and progesterone in that individual. And I always also look at the second factor, which is hot flashes from a Chinese medicine perspective. Naturopaths are trained in Chinese medicine, so let me kind of break down how that works. An example, you're all familiar with the yin-yang symbol, okay? So it's all about that balance of yin and yang, but what that actually means from a hot flash perspective is that yin is that calming, cooling energy. Think of yang as more that hot, more exciting type energy. Those energies need to be balanced. And what you commonly see from Chinese medicine with hot flashes is that it's not so much that there's actual excessive yang or causing extra heat. It's more that there's not enough yin. So they would call it yin deficiency leading to heat. And when you treat it from that aspect, you see really good results. Long before I was able to, was prescribing hormones or anything along those lines, I was treating, and I created my own Chinese formula for clearing heat, and it worked fantastic. Okay, so secondly, again, from the conventional standpoint, remember it's then the balance of estrogen and progesterone. And it's the similar concept. It doesn't always matter exactly what the person's levels are. It will depend on what those levels are relative to what they were before. So estrogen might still be in the normal level, but if it seems to be dropping for that person, they can get symptoms. Same thing for progesterone. If it's dropping relative to what it was before for that client, they will get symptoms of hormone deficiency. And finally, estrogen relative to progesterone, and it's similar, when you see progesterone dropping, and I always find for clients with hot flashes and when I'm doing the testing, progesterone drops usually way before estrogen drops. So you can see progesterone levels dropping in perimenopause years before estrogen starts dropping, and then the hormones and the hot flash changes starting with that. So while traditionally hot flashes were always thought to be just related to the estrogen dropping, you see lots of cases where estrogen is completely normal. When the progesterone drops, hot flashes come in, and when you treat with progesterone, it's then corrected. With all of this being said, going back to my treatment preferences, I like to start with non-hormonal based treatments first for hot flashes when possible. So in those cases, I would start with herbal therapies first before moving then to bioidentical hormones, which I would use in very small doses, physiological doses, just to bring the person's levels back up to optimal. All right, so let's go through this for the beginning phases of treatment. First, you want to consider the big four triggers that I find when it comes to hot flashes, which is coffee, wine, sugar, and stress. Whenever you are cutting out a trigger, you always want to find things that you can then use to replace that trigger. So coffee would be great if you could replace that with herbal tea. And when I give clients herbal teas, so if they're dealing with hot flashes, I like to use teas like sage, holy basil, lemon balm. 1, because they're calming. 2, because they're cooling, when going back to that whole Chinese medicine aspect of cooling. And 3, sage has been shown to have effects against hot flashes. So that would be a great formula that you could just grab to use for herbal teas to replace your coffee. Wine is replaced by water. Now, if you're having a drink socially, then you'd want to use vodka or gin. I find with my clients doesn't seem to cause hot flashes near as badly as wine does, because wine has the alcohol plus the sugar content. So better to pull it back completely. If you are going to have a drink, a clear alcohol is better. Sugar is replaced by natural sweeteners, or just pull back the sweet flavor in general. So if you're going to replace it, stevia or xylitol would be good. And then stress needs to be replaced, 1, by doing less, changing your mindset with regards to things that are happening, and then doing more things that you find that have a calming effect for you. So whether it's something creative or some relaxing activity, meditation, yoga, music, art, you name it, pick what you love and do that. The next step is herbal therapies for hot flashes. Now, if you go to a health food store, you're going to find basically all of the same thing. It's going to be black cohosh and, well, that's pretty much it. You're going to find black cohosh, and that's what they're going to recommend. And it's effects that I've seen for clients. A very small percentage of people do get effect, but it does help for some people. I created my own formula. I called it hot flash results, and it's using the Chinese principles that we already talked about earlier. So I will use herbs like Scutellaria bigalensis, Rehmannia, Dongquai, and a few more herbs that really work to increase yin, cool the excess heat, and have a calming effect. And I found great results. In fact, when I first started practice, just using those herbs and having clients pull back on their coffee, wine, and sugar, I saw dramatic results. That was way before I was even using bioidentical hormones. If there were cases that didn't respond to the hot flash results, I'd add a second formula, and then I'd use herbs such as Vitex, Alchemilla, and licorice with it. That's something, those are herbs you can probably find in a lot of health food stores, if definitely not online, so that can be a very helpful formula. And then if the herbs were not enough with that, that's when you have to look into bioidentical hormones. When it comes to bioidentical hormones, it's strongly recommended that you don't start using them until you get a testing base first. So I prefer saliva hormone testing. Some practitioners like blood testing. I find with the saliva hormone testing, you can see the free hormone level. You can also see free hormone levels when it comes to urinary testing, but saliva hormone testing seems to be easier and more affordable. So that's the one I prefer my clients use. And what I want to look at for that is estradiol levels and progesterone. Those are the big ones when it comes to hot flashes. So you collect the saliva test, send it into the lab, a couple weeks you get it back, and then based upon those levels, you can use physiological doses, and that's important, physiological doses of bioidentical hormones just to bring the levels back up so the person's in an optimal range and feeling happy, healthy, and symptom-free. Now, a lot of people, when they think about hormone replacement therapy, it really freaks them out because they think about the traditional hormone replacement therapy that they used to use, which was synthetic hormones or horse hormones in massive doses, and they found an increased cancer risk. What they have found with the bioidentical hormones is when they're used properly, especially topically in low doses, they don't see that same increased risk. So it's really important if you're using bioidentical hormones to make sure that you're preventing any of the risk. You do not use estrogen unopposed. So you don't take an estrogen cream and you never take estrogen oral, and then you take that always with progesterone. You can take progesterone on its own, but you don't take estrogen without progesterone. And again, as I've already mentioned, you will commonly find that progesterone drops first. So there's a lot of cases that I find where I only have to give progesterone and that's it, just to create that balance. Then typically let's go, you know what? Let's forget the typically. We'll go through what I always see in practice. If the hot flash capsules are going to work, so if you give the hot flash results capsules, the herbs, and you cut out wine, pull back on coffee, anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, you're going to see the results. And the hot flashes, they may not be completely gone, but they're dramatically reduced in frequency and in intensity. If you have to use the hormones for treatment, and if you get to that stage, then it's usually after a month of treatment that you start noticing the benefit from it. So progesterone typically takes a month. Estrogen treatments, if you're using that, usually takes a month to 3 months, but I always see the results within a month. And in that case, you see significant reduction in hot flashes, improved sleep, quality of life, and everybody's happy. So I'm Dr. Yates, and this has been the information in terms of how I treat hot flashes from a natural perspective in my clinic.